we'll look at are lipids, also called fats. They contain carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, but unlike the carbohydrates, they have a lot less oxygen, and sometimes lipids do contain phosphorus. Lipids are insoluble in water, which makes them very good for making cell membranes. The main thing I want you to remember about lipids. The 3 or 4 types of lipids that we deal with are triglycerides, phospholipids, steroids, and eicosanoids. Triglycerides are fats when they are solid at room temperature, oils when they are liquid at room temperature. They're made up of 3 fatty acids, which are linear hydrocarbon bound to a glycerol by 3 dehydration synthesis. Their main function is to provide for energy storage, to insulate us, and to protect organs. So here's our glycerol, 3 carbons, and a fatty acid chain attached to it. And you would have 3 fatty acid chains to give you a triglyceride, such as this. Here's another one where you take out the letters. You're just doing a different diagramming system.
Butter, lard, margarine, and salad oil are composed of lipids called fats. To make a fat molecule, 3 fatty acids bind to a molecule of glycerol. For this reason, fat molecules are technically called triglycerides. Fat molecules do not mix with water because they have 3 long hydrocarbon tails. Cells use fats for energy storage because the tails hold more potential energy than other biological molecules.
Well, the video worked well. Let's see if we can get on from it. So a triglyceride can be composed of saturated fatty acids in which all the carbons are linked through single covalent bonds, which means there are 4 different things bound to each carbon. They give you a more linear molecule that packs closely together, forming a solid at room temperature. So typically animal fats or butter are saturated fatty acids. We'd see here. And then an unsaturated fatty acid has double bonds in it, and that results in not as many hydrogens in the pod. The real issue with unsaturated fatty acids is that the double bonds can cause a kink, so they don't pack together as well. So unsaturated fatty acids tend to be liquid at room temperature. Trans fats are modified unsaturated fatty oils that resemble saturated fats. They are considered unhealthy. You may have heard of omega-3 fatty acids. They are supposed to be heart healthy. I would just caution you the dose makes the poison. Enjoy everything in moderation. So here's a double bond that gives us a kink in one of the fatty acid tails on the triglyceride, making this an unsaturated fat. The real important lipid that I want you to be aware of is the phospholipid. Phospholipids are modified triglycerides. They have the glycerol molecule, 2 fatty acid chains, and a phosphorus group, which gives them a head and tail region. Head is polar and hydrophilic. It's attracted to water. The tails are nonpolar and hydrophobic. They repel water, and they are very important for the phospholipid bilayer that makes up the bulk of a cell membrane. So we've got I lost my cursor, but near the top we've got the purple phosphate group attached to the glycerol, and then on the other side we've got 2 fatty acids, one of them saturated, one of them unsaturated. When you put those into a water environment, they will organize themselves so that the fatty acid tails combine with one another, and the phosphate heads are exposed to the internal and external environment, the cell membrane, So if this was a cell membrane, we would have the extracellular space and the cytoplasm. Another class of lipids that becomes important for us later on are the steroids. They are 4 interlocking ring structures, the most important of which is cholesterol. Cholesterol is made by the liver. It's also found in animal products. It's a starting material to synthesize vitamin D, the steroid hormones, and bile salts. And cholesterol is a very important component of plasma membranes. There's our structure, the 4 interlocking carbon rings, and different steroids have a different attachment to that. This one happens to be cholesterol. The eicosanoids are derived from fatty acids, one called arachidonic acid that's found in cell membranes. They act as hormone-like molecules. Eicosanoids have a role in blood clotting. They have a role in controlling blood pressure, inflammation, even labor contractions. So, inflammatory actions are blocked by NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, aspirin being one of the first discovered, but ibuprofen as well. And that is going to be the end of our discussion of lipids.